Summary Overview, Chapter 17, Distinctions in Merits, Section 1, Paragraphs 1 to 25. Shakyamuni Buddha explains to Ajita, Bodhisattva Maitreya, the benefits of hearing the eternal lifespan of the Buddha, receiving the dharnis, abiding in the stage of non-regression, the ability to preach joyously, and attaining Buddhahood after a certain number of rebirths. At that time, when the great assembly heard the Buddha describing the length of his lifespan being such an extremely long period of time, immeasurably boundless asamkhya of living beings received great benefits. The Bhagavath spoke to Bodhisattva Mahasattva Maitreya, O Ajita. When I described the eternal lifespan of Tathagata, living beings as numerous as 680 trillion Nayuta of Ganges' sands had attained the assurance of non-rebirth. Again, 1,000 times this number of Bodhisattvas Mahasattvas received the dharni of memory retention. Again, Bodhisattvas Mahasattvas as numerous as the dust particles of the entire world attained the eloquence of joyous preaching without hindrance. Again, Bodhisattvas Mahasattvas as numerous as the dust particles of the entire world received hundreds of thousands of millions of billions of immeasurable dharnis of repetition. Again, Bodhisattvas Mahasattvas as numerous as the dust particles of trichiliacosm were able to turn the Dharma wheel irreversibly. Again, Bodhisattvas Mahasattvas as numerous as the dust particles of 2,000 middle-sized lands were able to turn the pure Dharma wheel. Again, Bodhisattvas Mahasattvas as numerous as the dust particles of 1,000 small lands received the prophecy of attaining supreme perfect enlightenment after 8 rebirths. Again, Bodhisattvas Mahasattvas as numerous as the dust particles of 4 four-continent worlds received the prophecy of attaining supreme perfect enlightenment after 4 rebirths. Again, Bodhisattvas Mahasattvas as numerous as the dust particles of 3 four-continent worlds received the prophecy of attaining supreme perfect enlightenment after 3 rebirths. Again, Bodhisattvas Mahasattvas as numerous as the dust particles of 2 four-continent worlds received the prophecy of attaining supreme perfect enlightenment after 2 rebirths. Again, Bodhisattvas Mahasattvas as numerous as the dust particles of 1 four-continent world received the prophecy of attaining supreme perfect enlightenment after 1 rebirth. Lastly, living beings as numerous as the dust particles of 8 worlds conceived the aspiration of attaining supreme perfect enlightenment. When the Buddha made the declaration of Bodhisattvas Mahasattvas receiving great benefits of the Dharma, Mandarava flowers and great Mandarava flowers were rained down from the sky, scattering over immeasurable hundreds of thousands of millions of billions of Buddhas who were seated on the lion thrones under the abundant, jeweled trees, including Shakyamuni Buddha and the long-departed abundant treasures Tathagata who were seated on the lion throne in the treasure pagoda of the 7 jewels, as well as all the great bodhisattvas and the 4 groups. Moreover, fine sandalwood and aloe powder were rained down and celestial drums were resounding on their own accords, producing enchanting music of profound resonance. Everywhere in the 9 directions, thousands of celestial robes rained down together with a medley of necklaces such as pearl necklaces, mani jewel necklaces, and wish-granting pearl necklaces. Priceless incense was burnt in the censers of bountiful jewels as a way of offering to the great assembly. The fragrant scent permeated everywhere in the surroundings. Bodhisattvas held canopies over each Buddha, one above another in sequence, right up to the Brahma heaven. All the Bodhisattvas sang countless songs using their mesmerizing voices to praise the Buddhas. Thereupon, Bodhisattva Maitreya rose from his seat, bared his right shoulder, pressed his palms together, and spoke in stanzas in front of the Buddha. The Buddha has expounded a rare and exceptional Dharma. A Dharma that has never been heard before. Mighty is the power of the Bhagavath. Immeasurable is his lifespan. When innumerable children of the Buddha hear the Bhagavath described with distinction, the benefit and blessing they will receive, joy permeates their entire body. Some abide in the stage of non-regression. Some obtain the power of dharnis. Some acquire joyous preaching without hindrance. Some retain millions of billions of repetitions. Bodhisattvas as numerous as the dust particles in the 1,000 major worlds are all capable of turning the irreversible Dharma wheel. Again there are bodhisattvas as numerous as the dust particles of 1,000 intermediate worlds, who are all capable of turning the pure Dharma wheel. Again there are bodhisattvas, as numerous as the dust particles of 1,000 minor worlds, who will attain the Buddha way after 8 rebirths. Again there are bodhisattvas, as numerous as the dust particles, dwelling in 4, 3, or 2 of the 4 continent worlds, who will become Buddhas after the same number of rebirths. Again there are bodhisattvas, as numerous as the dust particles, in 1 4-continent world, who will attain perfect wisdom after 1 more rebirth. Living beings such as these have gained immeasurable and impeccable rewards of the pure fruit upon hearing the eternal lifespan of the Buddha. Again there are living beings in the 8 worlds, as numerous as the dust particles, who have all aspired for the unsurpassed way upon hearing the eternal lifespan of the Buddha. When the Bhagavath expounds the immeasurable and inconceivable Dharma, many of them have received benefit and blessing, as boundless and limitless as the open space. Mandarava flowers and great Mandarava flowers are rained down. Chakras and Brahmas as numerous as the Ganges' sands have arrived from innumerable Buddha lands. Offerings of sandalwood and aloe are rained down in melange, like flocks of birds swooping down from the sky, showering over the Buddhas. Celestial drums in the sky generate enthralling music on their own accord. Thousands of millions of celestial robes come whirling down in descent. Priceless incense is burnt in censers of bountiful jewels, naturally permeating the environment. The fragrances are offerings for the Bhagavath. Multitudes of great bodhisattvas clutch the 7 treasure canopies of 1 trillion varieties in height and magnificence. One after another, they reach up to the Brahma heaven. Jeweled flags and banners are fluttering before all the Buddhas. Tens of millions of chants are sung in praise of Tathagatas. Many of these events have never been known before. Having heard the infinite lifespan of the Buddha, all of them are rapturous with joy. The Buddha's name is renowned in the 10 directions for his generosity in bestowing benefits for all living beings. He develops their roots of benevolence so as to support them in achieving unsurpassed wisdom. Summary Overview, Chapter 17, Distinctions in Merits, Section 2, Paragraphs 1 to 21. People who believe in the eternal lifespan of the Buddha will receive boundless benefits, surpassing those people who practice 5 paramithas for innumerable kalpas. Moreover, people who respond with joy upon hearing the eternal lifespan of the Buddha are predicted to attain Buddhahood in their future lifetimes. Thereafter, the Buddha spoke to Bodhisattva Mahasattva Maitreya, O Ajita. If there are living beings who are able to believe and understand even for a moment upon hearing the eternal lifespan of the Buddha, the merits they receive will be boundless. Suppose there are virtuous men and women who were to practice 5 paramitas, the paramita of generosity, the paramita of morality, the paramita of perseverance, the paramita of diligence, and the paramita of meditation, with the exception of the paramita of wisdom, over a period of 80 trillion Nayuta kalpas for the goal of supreme perfect enlightenment. The merits they receive will not equal even 100th, 1,000th, or a part of hundreds of thousands of millions of billions of the benefits mentioned previously. Indeed, the understanding of this is beyond the expression of mathematical calculations, parables, metaphors, and similes. Having acquired merits upon hearing with joy the eternal lifespan of the Buddha, these virtuous men and women will definitely attain supreme perfect enlightenment. Thereupon, the Bhagavath, wishing to reiterate his meaning, proclaimed in stanzas. If seekers of the Buddha wisdom, for a period of 80 trillion Nayuta kalpas, were to practice the 5 paramitas throughout all these kalpas, by giving alms and offerings to the Buddhas, disciples of Prayika Buddhas, and the multitude of bodhisattvas. Offerings such as rare food and beverages, fine clothing and bedding, or monasteries made of sandalwood, adorned by gardens and groves. These charitable alms and offerings are equally exquisite and wonderful in their varieties. They transfer the merits gained to the Buddha way throughout all the kalpas. Again, if they were to observe the precepts purely and immaculately, for the aim of seeking the unsurpassed way, rendering them praiseworthy by the Buddhas. Again, if they were to practice perseverance, gentleness, and flexibility, even if they encounter an onslaught of evils, their minds would remain unruffled. If those who have attained the Dharma were able to endure with forbearance those arrogant people who treat them contemptuously, again, if they were to practice earnestly, firm in aspiration and determination, single-mindedly with no rest or respite, for immeasurable billions of kalpas, dwelling alone in secluded places for countless kalpas, be it sitting or walking, with the exception of sleeping, they always control and meditate their minds. As a result of such causes and conditions, they are able to achieve meditative states and peacefully abide in minds of tranquility for 80 billion kalpas. Upholding the blessings of a focused mind, they seek only to attain the unsurpassed way, thinking, I will attain the perfect wisdom through the mastery of meditation. Even if these people were to carry out meritorious actions, as mentioned above, for hundreds of thousands of millions of billions of kalpas, their rewards would not surpass those virtuous men and women who hear me reveal my eternal lifespan, and believe it even for a single moment. If there are people who have completely abandoned doubts and regrets, and believe deeply even for a split second, their good fortune will be as mentioned. Bodhisattvas who have practiced the way for immeasurable kalpas are capable of accepting with faith, upon hearing of my eternal lifespan, people such as these will be able to receive the teaching of this sutra with reverence, thinking, we pray that we could obtain the eternal lifespan for the sake of saving all living beings in the future. We resemble the present Bhagavath, the king of Sakya, who roars like a lion expounding the Dharma fearlessly at the sanctuary of enlightenment. In the future, we will also be honored and respected by all beings, sitting at the sanctuaries of enlightenment. We will expound the eternal lifespan in the same manner. People with hearts of profound faith, pure, honest, and righteous, knowledgeable and endowed with robust memory, will be able to correctly perceive the Buddha words. People such as these will have no doubts about my eternal lifespan. Summary Overview, Chapter 17, Distinctions in Merits, Section 3, Paragraphs 1 to 26. People who embrace profound faith and understanding in the eternal lifespan of the Buddha have already witnessed the Buddha preaching the Dharma at Eagle Peak. Responding with spontaneous joy upon hearing the Lotus Sutra is a sign of profound faith and understanding. Those people who read, recite, and embrace the Lotus Sutra are literally carrying the Tathagata on the crown of their heads. The Buddha teaches that it is not necessary for those who accept and embrace the Lotus Sutra to build pagodas or give offerings to the community of monks or nuns. This is because by embracing the Lotus Sutra, one has already built pagodas and monasteries as well as given offerings to the immeasurable Buddhas for innumerable kalpas. As the Buddhas dwell within these people, they deserve the offerings of heavenly and human beings, as if they are the Buddhas themselves. Those who are able to embrace the Lotus Sutra and to practice the 6 paramitas have the foremost in virtue and their blessings are infinitely boundless. Key Messages. Joy in hearing the eternal lifespan of the Buddha is the cause for accumulating unsurpassed benefits. It is also the cause for attaining Buddhahood. Embracing the Lotus Sutra is a supreme expression of giving offerings to the Buddhas in the universe. Hence, practitioners of the Lotus Sutra receive the foremost in blessings, merits, and virtues, lifetime after lifetime. O Ajita! Again, if there are people who understand the intricate meaning upon hearing the eternal lifespan of the Buddha, the merits they obtain will be infinite and they will be able to awaken to the unsurpassed wisdom of Tathagata. How much more so if they frequently hear the Lotus Sutra, teach others, embrace the sutra themselves or lead others to embrace, copy the sutra themselves or lead others to copy, and present flowers, incense, necklaces, streamers, banners, silk canopies, fragrant oil, or butter oil lamps as offerings to the scrolls of the sutras. With the immeasurably boundless merits gained, these people will be able to acquire the perfect wisdom. O Ajita! If there are virtuous men and women who are able to have profound faith and understanding upon hearing of my eternal lifespan, then it means that they have already seen the Buddha constantly preaching the Dharma amidst the great Bodhisattvas and the community of Shravakas at Eagle Peak. They will also be able to view the Saha world in its bounty. The ground, level and even, is made of lapis lazuli, the 8 roads are demarcated by Jambunata gold and flanked by rows of jewel trees, and a multitude of bodhisattvas live in the towers and skyscrapers made of precious materials. This is a sign of profound faith and understanding for people who are able to view the realities as such. Again, after the parinirvana of Tathagata, if there are people who respond with spontaneous joy upon hearing the Lotus Sutra, instead of slandering it, then you should know that this is a sign of their profound faith and understanding. How much more so of those people who read, recite, accept, and embrace the Lotus Sutra. Such people are actually carrying the Tathagata on the crowns of their heads. O Ajita! These virtuous men and women do not need to build pagodas, temples, and monasteries, nor do they need to make 4 kinds of offerings to the community of monks. Why is this so? Because these virtuous men and women have already built pagodas, temples, and monasteries as well as given alms to the community of monks by accepting, embracing, reading, and reciting the Lotus Sutra. In other words, they have already constructed a 7-jeweled pagoda, lofty and tapering at the top, broad at the base, and reaching up to the Brahma heaven, for the Buddha's relics. In the pagoda, there are hanging streamers and banners, canopies, festoons of jeweled bells, flowers, incense, necklaces, powdered incense, paste incense, burning incense, music made from an assortment of musical instruments such as drum pipes, flutes, harps, various dances and plays, as well as enchanting voices singing hymns. It is as if they have already made these offerings for innumerable thousands of millions of billions of kalpas. O Ajita! After my parinirvana, if there are people who are able to accept, uphold, copy, and lead others to copy the Lotus Sutra upon hearing it, they have already built lofty and spacious monasteries made of red sandalwood. There are hundreds of thousands of monks who live within the monasteries equipped with 32 halls as tall as the 8 tala trees, not to mention the existence of gardens, groves, bathing pools, promenades, meditation sanctuaries, garments, food and drink, beds and mattresses, medicines, and all kinds of furniture for a comfortable living. These hundreds of thousands of millions of billions of innumerable monasteries and halls have been given as offerings to me and the rest of the monks, right here and now, in my presence. Therefore, let me repeat this, after the parinirvana of Tathagata, if there are people who are able to accept, uphold, read, recite, and preach for others, copy the sutra themselves or lead others to copy, and make offerings to the scrolls of sutras, they no longer need to build pagodas, temples, or monasteries as offerings to the community of monks. How much more so if there are people who are able to embrace the Lotus Sutra and give offerings, observe the precepts, practice perseverance, diligence, single-pointed concentration, and wisdom at the same time. Their virtues will be the foremost. The merits of these people will be infinitely boundless, as immeasurable as the open space in the east, west, south, and north, in the 4 intermediate directions, and in the zenith and nadir. As such, they will speedily attain the perfect wisdom. If there are people who are able to read, recite, accept, and embrace the Lotus Sutra, preach for the benefit of others, copy the sutra themselves or lead others to copy, build pagodas and monasteries as offerings, praise the community of Shravakas, and extol the merits of bodhisattvas through hundreds of thousands of millions of billions of ways. If there are people who are able to illustrate the meanings of the Lotus Sutra through various causes and conditions, if there are people who achieve purity by observing the precepts with discipline, if there are people who associate with those who are gentle and kind, if there are people who are always patient instead of easily giving in to arrogance or anger, if there are people who are firm in aspiration and always cherish seated meditation to attain profound concentration, if there are people who advance with ferocious courage and diligence to master all virtuous doctrines, and if there are people who are keen in faculties and wisdom as well as skillful in handling difficult questions. O Ajita! After my parinirvana, you should know that these virtuous men and women who have accumulated virtues and merits by accepting, embracing, reading, and reciting the Lotus Sutra in the ways as mentioned above, have already arrived at the sanctuaries of enlightenment and are seated beneath the trees of enlightenment. In other words, they are very close to attaining supreme perfect enlightenment. O Ajita! For these virtuous men and women, wherever they sit, stand, or walk, a pagoda should be built in that place and all heavenly gods and humans should make offerings to them as though they are the pagodas for the Buddha. Thereupon, the Bhagavat, wishing to reiterate his meaning, proclaimed in stanzas. After my parinirvana, those who accept and embrace the Lotus Sutra will have immeasurable blessings. As described above, it is as though they have completely given all kinds of offerings and built a seven-jeweled pagoda for the adornment of the Buddha's relics. Lofty and tall, spacious and wide, the pagoda tapers up to the Brahma heaven. Thousands of millions of billions of jeweled bells sway with the wind to produce enchanting music. Again, for immeasurable kalpas, they give offerings to the pagodas. Flowers, incense, necklaces, celestial robes, musical bands, burning fragrant lamps, and butter oil lamps that will always illuminate the environment. In the evil age of the latter day of the Dharma, if there are people who embrace the Lotus Sutra, it is as though they have given all offerings. As described above, if there are people who could embrace the Lotus Sutra, it is as though the Buddha is in front of them, and they give offerings by building monasteries made of ox-head sandalwood. Monasteries as tall as the 8 tala trees, replete with 32 halls, superior food and fine garments, bedding and mattresses, as well as charming gardens and groves, splendid bathing pools, promenades and meditation sanctuaries, will be the living space for hundreds of thousands of monks. If there are people with faith and understanding, who are able to accept, embrace, read, and recite, teach and lead others to copy it, or make offerings to the sutra scrolls, scattering fragrant flowers, powdered incense, always burning fragrant oil that is extracted from sumana flowers, champaka wood, or adamuktaka flowers. Offerings such as these will result in immeasurable merits, as well as blessings and benefits, as boundless as the open space. How much more so for those who could embrace the Lotus Sutra, give charitable alms, observe precepts with discipline, practice forbearance, and take delight in meditation, without falling prey to egotism, anger, or vicious slander. They will always be respectful of pagodas and temples, maintain humble attitude toward monks, keep a distance from people of excessive arrogance, and practice meditation to develop wisdom. They will not be frustrated by difficult questions, for they are able to explain according to different situations. If these people are capable of doing so, their merits will be immeasurable. If you have the chance to meet such Dharma teachers, who have accomplished the virtues as mentioned before, you should use celestial flowers to shower over them, celestial garments to cover them, and greet them by a full prostration, as if they are the Buddhas. Moreover, you should think as such. Soon will they arrive at the sanctuaries of enlightenment and attain effortless perfection, bringing benefits for all in the realm of human and heaven. In the places where the teachers walk, sit, or rest, or even recite a single stanza, beautifully adorned pagodas should be built for them, as should an assortment of offerings be given to them. Places in which children of the Buddha dwell belong to the Buddha himself. Whenever they are walking, sitting, or resting, the Buddha lives within them.